Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be making a delicious brownie, and not just any old brownie. I have seen trending at the moment tiramisu brownie, so I figured I'm going to jump on the trend and make a lovely tiramisu brownie for you guys. Now this is very similar to my original recipe that I'll link the video of that brownie in the comments, sorry, in the description below. But what am I doing here? Can't put a bloody apron on. There we go. Yes, so as I was saying, this brownie is very similar to the one that I've done before. However, you incorporate a little bit of espresso powder into the brownie, and then on the top of the brownie we are going to put a lovely coffee mascarpone cream that's going to sit on the top, and then a lovely dusting of cocoa powder. So it is extra extravagant, and I think it's going to be delicious. So what we're going to do first is we're going to put our little aprons on, then preheat the oven, 175 fan bake, and then what we're going to do next is we've got our butter and our chocolate. We're going to melt the two of these together in the microwave until both are lovely and runny, and then we're going to leave that to cool for a little bit. So I'm going to do that now. So actually, one thing I will note is that I have, let's move my butter out of the way, I've got a milk chocolate and I've got a dark chocolate. Now this is really good because it gives us sort of the sweetness of the milk, but then the bitterness and the actual strong taste of chocolate in the dark. So that's why I always go for both dark and milk. All right, so now that that is lovely and melted, we are just going to add a little secret ingredient, which is some coffee espresso beans, espresso grind. So I'm just gonna add a teaspoon of that into our lovely melted butter and chocolate, and then give that a nice wee stir, and then we can leave this to the side to cool down. So we are going to beat our eggs and our sugar until nice and light and fluffy, almost creamy texture. Now this will give our brownies a lovely crinkly top, so that's exactly what you want to do. You don't want to miss this step at all. So let's get going. Okay, so I have 3 fairly medium large eggs that I'm going to crack into my KitchenAid bowl. 1, 2, 3. And to those 3 eggs, I'm going to add my caster sugar and my brown sugar. So I have 200 grams of brown sugar and 80 grams of caster sugar that I'll pour in there, and then we're going to whiz this up until this is lovely and creamy. Hopefully you can still hear me. Whilst our eggs are whipping up with our sugar and getting all lovely and creamy, we are going to mix together our gluten-free flour, our cocoa powder, and a teaspoon of baking powder. So I'm going to pop a teaspoon of baking powder into my flour. I'm also going to put in half a teaspoon of salt. Now that helps bring out the chocolatey goodness. And then I've got 50 grams of cocoa powder. Now I didn't mention that I've got 100 grams of gluten-free flour. I'll leave, as always, all of the description, all of the ingredients quantities in the description box below. But once that is all in our bowl, I'm just going to give this a nice remix. Okay, so our lovely sugar and eggs have all come together, and you can see it's lovely and shiny and glossy and delicious. So we are going to sieve in our dry ingredients, which is what we just mixed up before. So that's our baking powder, salt, cocoa powder, and gluten-free flour. I'm going to sift this into our eggs and not spill it on the bench top. Cool, and then any last remaining cocoa powder, just push that through. Cocoa powder's got down the throat. Okay, clear up that. And then we are going to add in our cooled down butter and chocolate mixture. Alright, so now that that's all put in there, we're going to then put it back on the KitchenAid, give it a nice good old mix through until it's all thoroughly combined, and then we can pop it into our baking tin. Brownie is all in our tin, so I've popped it all in there. I've leveled it all out, so it's all ready to go for the oven. We're going to pop it in the oven for 35 minutes. Now if you like a really gooey brownie, take it out at 30. If you want more of like a mixture between sort of cakey on the outside, crispy outer, and then a nice gooey center, go 35. Obviously any longer, go more 37, I'd say. You don't want it to be too dry. Anyway, I'll see you once it's baked. Now before I get any hate on this video about it not being a tiramisu brownie or it not being tiramisu-like, I just want to say that this is my interpretation of tiramisu flavors with a brownie. So I've seen recipes that use ladyfingers and like sponge layers within their brownie or tiramisu brownies. I am not a fan of ladyfingers, so I have left them out. Obviously, if you want to use them, you know, you do you, by all means go for it. But I just want to put a little disclaimer in here before I have any true Italians come at me and say, you didn't use any sponge, it's not tiramisu. I know I didn't, but I don't like ladyfingers, so I've decided to not use them. But yeah, so anyway, we'll wait until the brownie has baked and then we'll make a lovely mascarpone cream to go on the top. Okay guys, hopefully you can see me. The sun is very glary now, so I am very sorry about that. But my brownie has come out of the oven. It is looking divine. It's still quite warm to the touch, but you can see, I mean, the sun kind of like elevates it even more, but you can see how like the lovely top layer is lovely and crispy and thin and shiny and exactly what you want your brownie to look like. So we're going to leave that to the side to completely cool before we touch it. But now what we're going to do is we're going to make our lovely little tiramisu mascarpone topping that essentially makes this brownie a tiramisu brownie. Okay, so what I have got here is 250 grams of mascarpone cream cheese. I've also got 60 grams of caster sugar that I'm going to pop into there. I also have a double shot of espresso coffee that I have just made from my coffee machine. So I'm going to pour that in as well, and then that's going to give the flavour of this lovely cream topping that coffee-esque tiramisu flavour. And then I also have 300 mils of thickened cream that I'm going to pour all in there. And then you can either do this with a hand beater, or you can use a KitchenAid. I'm obviously going to use my KitchenAid because that's what I always use. And then we're going to whip it up until it is lovely and thick and creamy, but not airy. We don't want to aerate it. So I'll show you what I mean by that though. Okay, this is what I mean when I mean thick and creamy. We want it to be quite stable, but we don't want it to be super aerated where it's like pavlova cream, but we want it to be nice and stable. So I would say probably just needs maybe another 30 seconds and then we should be good to go. Now I also forgot to add my vanilla, so I'm going to add that now, and then we'll give that a nice 30 seconds blast and we should be good to go. Alright, so we've got our lovely chilled out brownie here, and it is now time to pop on our beautiful mascarpone. Now this smells absolutely incredible, so I'm just going to pretty much dollop everything on there, and then we can then spread it out with our palette knife, and then we can put our special chocolate dusting on the top that makes it that iconic tiramisu look. Sorry, I've had to move because the blimmin' sun is now out again and it's now shining in my eyes and you wouldn't be able to see me. So I have now finished dusting my beautiful tiramisu cake. Not tiramisu cake, tiramisu brownie. So now we have to be super, super patient and basically wait 12 hours minimum before we can cut this, because we want all the flavours to get to know each other and settle in. And traditionally, even though this isn't a very traditional kind of recipe, but traditionally you want it to be in the fridge for 12 to 24 hours. So we're going to leave it in for 12 and then we're going to cut it up in the morning. So we shall see you then, and try and be nice and patient and don't eat it. I mean, if you can, if you want to, eat it, but I advise not to. But anyway, we'll see you in the morning and we'll cut it up. Good morning, guys. It is now the next day. The sun is shining, it's a different kind of weather, and I have brought out my lovely tiramisu brownie from the fridge. I've just cut it all up. I have made it into 12 slices in my 9-inch, from my 9-inch tin. I also didn't mention what tin size to use. You can use whatever tin size you want. I use a 9-inch square tin, and I have, the thickness of the brownies is sort of like 1 inch, so I would recommend anywhere between a 9-inch or an 8-inch square tin. And I've made 12 regular sized brownies from that tin, but obviously whatever you have you can use. So I've cut it up and I honestly love the way it looks. Like, you've got the really dense brownie, you've got a lovely layer of that espresso mascarpone cream, lovely little dusting of cocoa powder, so it's like the perfect tiramisu brownie. I honestly, even just like the fudgy, because we've put the brownie in the fridge, it's basically allowed everything to sort of like play with each other, hang out with each other, get friendly, all the flavors to get to know each other. The brownie's gone super, super moist. I've always put the brownie in the fridge prior to serving. It just allows it to get really, really fudgy, and that's exactly what it's done. And it's just, it smells so, so delicious. It looks delicious. So honestly, this is a recipe that you guys have to try because it is honestly so yummy. I unfortunately can't taste this because it's got dairy in it. I'm not having dairy at the moment, but I am gonna get Cal to try it for me and give me the verdict of whether or not it's nice, but I'm sure it will be. It smells delicious. So yeah, but anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. It's quite different from what I have done in the past, but I have missed being in the kitchen and baking away. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, share and subscribe, thumbs up and everything, and we shall see you next week for another video. Bye guys.